AGE.
Two fires burned through New Mexico last month. Investigators say the lightning sparked the South Fork fire. As for the other,
a set of prints made by a pair of Vans sneakers has led FBI agents to a man and his girlfriend. They may have been involved in setting over a dozen fires in a 25-square-mile section of New Mexico's Mescalero Apache Reservation. Officials said that when he was questioned, the man identified himself as a firefighter who had actually tried to battle the flames.
ABC's Jim Ryan. The death toll from a mudslide in Ethiopia has risen to at least 230.
Locals gathered at the remote site in shock and disbelief. Young children and pregnant women among the victims, most of whom were buried in a slide on Monday as rescue workers searched the steep terrain for survivors of another slip the previous day. Landslides are fairly common during Ethiopia's rainy season, which started this month and is expected to last until mid-September. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
Coca-Cola is reporting a stronger than expected second quarter, raising its full-year sales guidance to 9 to 10%. Coke says its unit case volumes rose 2% globally, with prices up 9% due to overseas inflation. Google is dropping plans to eliminate cookies from its Chrome browser. Cookies are used to track users for advertising purposes. Google says it's abandoning the plan after considering the impact on publishers. Daria Albingray.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. When you use Angie for your home projects, you know all your jobs will be done well. Roof repair? Done well. Kitchen sink install? Done well. Deck upgrades? Done well. Electrical upgrade? Done well. Angie's been connecting homeowners with skilled pros for nearly 30 years, so we know the difference between done and done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
I'm Bill Walter, KBNU News. News brought to you by Canyon Landscaping. Local favorites, the Bear River Ramblers, will be one of the headliners at Logan City's all-day festivities to celebrate Pioneer Day tomorrow at Willow Horseshoe Park. Based in Logan, the folk bluegrass country band has been performing together for more than 5 years throughout Utah and southern Idaho. They will appear on the Willow Park stage from 6:30 to 8 p.m. That band will be followed by country artist Vegas McGraw presenting his tribute to Tim McGraw. The tribute band will perform starting at 8:30 p.m. on the Willow Park stage. The city's Pioneer Day celebration kicks off with an early morning 1-mile and 3-mile fun run. Also, registration for those events will begin at 7 a.m. in the park. The non-competitive races will begin at 7:30 a.m. The 19th annual Logan Lions Club Pancake Breakfast will also begin at 7:30 a.m. The breakfast bill of fare will include eggs, sausage, orange juice or milk, and, of course, pancakes. The morning's activities will also include an open grass volley tournament. Other scheduled competitions include 3-on-3 basketball and soccer tournaments, a horseshoe pitching tournament, a cornhole tournament, and spike ball. Those events will take place on the Willow Park Quad. A family fun Zumba is scheduled at 10 a.m. The city's annual Pioneer Day Parade begins at noon. The route starts at the corner of Center Street and 100 West and proceeds west on Center Street to 500 West and then south to 700 South and ends at Willow Park. Food and craft booths at Willow Park will open for business at 11 a.m. And then the city's Pioneer Day celebration will climax with a free public fireworks display tomorrow night at 10 p.m. A man was sentenced to prison after he admitted to possessing child pornography, his third conviction of the same conduct. On Monday, 37-year-old Jordan Allen Neves Brewer of Ogden was sentenced to 10 years in prison, a lifetime of supervised release, and ordered to pay $5,000 in restitution. In February, Brewer admitted that he possessed child pornography while on supervised release for a prior 2012 federal conviction of possessing child pornography. Brewer also has a state conviction for possession of child pornography. He was reportedly released from his state sentence in 2019 and completed sex offender treatment in 2021. And a woman died after not having enough water in triple-digit heat. The 56-year-old woman, whose identity has not been released, was hiking on a trail near Quail Creek State Park on Sunday when she ran out of water. The temperature at the time was 106 degrees Fahrenheit, according to the Hurricane City Police Department. First responders reportedly found her unresponsive and attempted life-saving measures. Unfortunately, those efforts were not enough to save her. The Washington County Sheriff's Office, Hurricane Valley Fire, and the State of Utah Department of Natural Resources assisted. And it's going to be hot tomorrow on Wednesday, Pioneer Day. We do have a heat advisory in effect from noon to 10 p.m. Wednesday. Patchy smoke tonight, mostly clear, low in the mid-60s, and then patchy smoke, sunny and hot around 100 on Wednesday. Slight chance of showers late Wednesday night. Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance has access to many insurance carriers, and he will give you options to protect your business. Give your insurance package a fresh look with Quality First Insurance, 752-0101. Get more news at CashValleyDaily.com.
Your landscape should be a place to relax, entertain, and spend family time. Canyon Landscaping designs and installs livable landscapes that define space in new or existing yards. Hardscapes with retaining walls, paver and stone patios and walkways. Each create privacy, interest, and purpose. Plus fire pits and sitting walls to add value to any yard. Go to CanyonLandscaping.com for more details. Then call to schedule your free consultation. Call 752-3838 or go to CanyonLandscaping.com. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
Taking news to an all-new level. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Markets are unpredictable, but reaching your financial goals shouldn't be. Adams Wealth Advisors is dedicated to helping you navigate these challenges and ensure you're prepared for every outcome. Whether your financial plan revolves around advanced tax planning, estate planning, business strategies, retirement planning, or investment management, Adams Wealth Advisors team of CPAs, CFPs, and CFAs will provide the expertise needed to help you reach your financial goals. Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com. That's AdamsWealthAdvisors.com for more information or to schedule an appointment.
TTM Technologies right here in Logan is celebrating a milestone, 50 years of operations. TTM has been at the forefront of printed circuit board innovation, is a global leader in radio frequency and specialty components, and has provided stable, quality employment within the Logan community. TTM Technologies is a global leader with 24 facilities and over 16,000 employees worldwide. TTM Technologies wants to thank all past and present employees. Your hard work and dedication have been the driving force behind our success. TTM Technologies looks forward to many more years of success and growth in Cache Valley. Thank you.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Hi, this is Chris Wilson of Wilson Motor Company. It's the final days of our 81st anniversary sales event. We have reduced prices on over 300 Ford, Lincoln, Nissan, and pre-owned vehicles, including over 40 F-150s in stock and coming. We have rebates as high as $7,500 and interest rates as low as 0% for 60 months. Check out our inventory online before July 31st at wilsonmotor.com.
Wilson Motor Company, we make car buying easy.
Join us for our Cache County Fair and Rodeo, running from August 7th to 10th. I'm Mickey Scott, your 2024 Cache County Rodeo Queen. Experience top-notch rodeo performances, tasty treats, and fun activities for everyone. Get your tickets now at IFA, Cache County Event Center, or at cachecounty.org/fair. Buy them now before they sell out.
So come on out, let's have some fun at the Cache County Fair.
Question. What do high-stakes gambling, a bunch of philosophical felines, tap-dancing gangsters, a blood-sucking plant, and a Puccini opera have in common? They're all blockbusters playing on stage in Logan this summer.
And I said to myself, sit down, you're rocking the boat.
Utah Festival presents Guys and Dolls, Cats, Anything Goes, Little Shop of Horrors, and Gianni Schicchi with Buoso's Ghost. Buy your tickets at utahfestival.org, utahfestival.org.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News, how the Democratic Party made a mess of the presidential nominating process by looking the other way when it came to Joe Biden's flaws. Also, how Donald Trump reunited a fractured Republican Party, plus how Kamala Harris would handle taxes and immigration, and why young people are choosing not to have babies. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
I guess I got what I wanted. I never knew what I needed. Leave it up to me to blow it up without a good reason. I know that it was my own fault. I never picked up that phone.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People, hour 2 of today's show. It is still July 23rd. Thanks again to our guest, to Dwight Whitaker, for joining us to talk about, he's a co-founder of the Cache Valley Humanitarian Center. Their open house coming up August 1st. Everyone's invited from 4 to 7 p.m. to their current location, which, by the way, they're looking for a new location because this one, the lease is about to expire. So if you'd like to help them out with that, they'd be glad. But their current location, 595 South Riverwood Parkway in Logan, on August 1st, 4 to 7 p.m., they're inviting everyone out to get to know them as an organization, learn about volunteer opportunities, whether you're a resident, summer citizen, business or government leader, doesn't matter. USU football team will be there. They volunteer regularly with the Humanitarian Center, putting these back-to-school kits and kits for homeless families together, things like that. Also, the basketball team, soccer team, and volleyball teams from Utah State University, and other special guests. So a rare opportunity. It's free, of course, because they're hoping to just kind of let you get to know them as an organization and how you can help. They've been around since 2021. They've done some amazing things on a shoestring budget, starting out with just a tiny little $2,000 grant, working through both Rotary clubs here in the Valley. So good opportunity to get out there and support a good organization. As we were wrapping up last hour, Dwight mentioned to me, and how what a good guy Dwight is, because he felt bad that throughout the interview we didn't mention that the co-founder, he's a co-founder, the other co-founder of the Cache Valley Humanitarian Center through the Rotary clubs here in Cache Valley is his wife. And he said, I didn't even mention her. He was bothered by that he hadn't even mentioned the other co-founder's name. So a shout out from myself and Dwight to Catherine Whitaker. Catherine Whitaker, the other co-founder of the Cache Valley Humanitarian Center. So CacheValleyHumanitarianCenter.com is their website if you want to read more about that, and make a note to get out to that open house down there at the Riverwoods Complex, 595 South Riverwood Parkway on August 1st, 4 to 7 p.m. Meet members of the USU football team, basketball team, soccer and volleyball teams. Learn from them what their experience volunteering with the Cache Valley Humanitarian Center is, and also spread the word. Again, as Dwight mentioned, they are looking for a new location, roughly 5,000 square feet. If you know of a place or would like to offer one up on the cheap or even better free, let them know. They would love that. And if you'd like to help them put together their hygiene kits and backpacks for back to school, sleeping mats, get involved with the coat and quilt drives this fall, the Books for Kids program ongoing, or just in general volunteer hours for the community through the Humanitarian Center, you can contact them again at CacheValleyHumanitarianCenter.com. And I wanted to mention this one more time. One of the most unique things I think about the Cache Valley Humanitarian Center is the practicality of launching in 2021 and saying, look, we don't need to reinvent wheels here. There are a lot of great organizations like CAPSA, the Family Place, and others, the food pantry already operating in Cache Valley, filling a great need, but we could help drive volunteers and donors to them through our own organization, but we could also pick up any slack temporarily or ongoing with their already running programs. So they coordinated with all the nonprofits in the Valley and said, okay, you know, where are the blind spots? Where are who are the folks slipping through the cracks, or the issues slipping through the cracks? Because obviously, you know, nonprofits all across the nation are stretched thin on a daily basis, staff and money-wise. So that's where the Cache Valley Humanitarian Center came in. They said, look, we'll we'll fill in those gaps. So you let us know where the gaps are. I thought that was such a great way to launch a brand new nonprofit in Cache Valley, and I've been paying attention to them since, just because of that. So get out and support them if you can. If you can't, don't worry. There are plenty of other opportunities coming up. Again, this fall, they'll be launching their coat and quilt drive, and we'll have them back on the show to talk about that. I joked with Dwight. I recently did some kind of spring cleaning. It was more of a lazy man's inventory of things that need to be sorted through is I guess the most accurate way to describe it. But I counted about 20 coats. I don't think I've ever gotten rid of a coat. I counted about 20 coats, some that I barely wore, bought them because I liked them and then changed my mind after that first winter, something like that. So about 20 coats that could go in a box, and that's 20 people who are a little warmer next winter. We've all got something like that, and so we'll be talking about that again this fall. Big news on the Utah-Paris front. Yeah, you heard it right. Not often that you get to talk about a delegation from Utah, including some of the most high-ups of higher-ups in our political circles and business circles. Everybody jaunted off to Paris, France, alongside the U.S. ambassador to France to talk about bringing the 2034 Winter Games back to Utah. This would be 22 years after I'm sorry, my math is really bad. This would be 32 years after the Winter Games were last in Utah, and Utah is definitely a front runner in this. So to try and sway things, this delegation was put together, and they went off to France to meet with the committees and all the decision makers involved in all of this to try and sway them a bit. This is how it's done, and hopefully they're successful. We'll talk about what they had to say and some of their experience just in the first 24 hours on the ground there in France. That's coming up right after this here on KVNU's For the People.
Utah, summer has come alive. Truly the best season to get out and drive. Yes, road trips, adventures, new places, all better in a new vehicle from Murdoch GMC Chevrolet Cadillac. Right now, receive up to $4,000 off a new 2024 Sierra 1500 HD. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Chevrolet GMC Cadillac in Logan or online at murdochchevroletlogan.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Call 888-391-6083 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 7/31/24.
How is your job to school?
Let me tell you. I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then, someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello? Mark Gilbert. My name is Will Feelright. I'm calling from KVNU in Logan. Hey, I'm calling to see if you want to go to lunch today. Well, I'm not going to be able to today. How long have you been an EMT? Get close to 40 years. Well, Mark, Firehouse Subs has teamed up with our radio station, and every week they like to give a gift card to somebody for free lunch or dinner, and we'd like to give that gift card to you. Well, thank you.
The Above and Beyond Salute on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Some really funny video today of Governor Cox, Utah's governor, recently, technically reelected, winning the primary by more than 10 points, headed into the general election now against a Democrat. He'll win. So he's busy doing governor things. Now, there have been critics about this, people saying they don't think the governor should be doing this. The Senate president is with them, members of Utah's business community with them as well, but they're in France. They headed off to France, left on a flight yesterday, and arrived. And the funny video is actually video of Governor Cox in a T-shirt and some very wrinkly khakis. So what happened? They got off their flight, and their luggage was not there, and they had to wait. They still haven't gotten their luggage, at least as of the press conference this afternoon. But the press conference was set. There were dignitaries from the Olympic Committee and U.S. Ambassador to France and others that were waiting on them. So they headed straight to the event location for the press conference and the meet and greet. And so the governor apparently was still in the shirt he'd been wearing on the lengthy flight from the U.S. And if you've ever flown to Europe, sometimes those flights get a little warm. Sometimes you're not so fresh after a day at the airport the day before, right? So here we are 24 hours later. They arrive in France. They are without their luggage to change. They hadn't have time for a shower. And someone had to loan the governor a T-shirt. And so the governor is everybody's in suits and collar jackets, and the governor's standing there next to him in some crumpled khaki pants and a Team USA T-shirt. Now, I'm not sure if they bought this T-shirt at the airport or if someone else gave it to him, but I thought it was great that they went through with it at least. But the governor said, a lot of us just got here. We're none the worse for wear. We haven't had a chance to shower or change. We don't have our luggage yet. And then he just kind of points at his T-shirt. And they got a good laugh. But again, this is actually important work. The Olympics in 2002 were huge for Utah, economically, but also putting us on a map as a tourist destination, blowing the roof off of Utah's ski season and ski resorts as far as worldwide travelers now. It was always a thing. Now it's really a thing after the Olympics in 2002. So 32 years later, we can host them again. But the work to make that happen has to take place today because they basically have to convince, if you will, the International Olympic Committee to do that. So Cox and crew will be participating in the bid committee's presentation to the International Olympic Committee tomorrow morning. And then there will be a final vote to make the decision officially on the 2034 games. So likely by mid-afternoon tomorrow, our time, we should know whether Utah is going to get to host the Winter and Paralympic Olympics again in 2034. So again, the governor and crew were caught up. This includes the Senate President, Stuart Adams, leaders in Utah's business community, other members of the National Governors Association who are there to support Utah getting the Olympics, because it also meant a lot of revenue for Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, and Nevada, because not everyone could stay in Salt Lake, right? So this is a big deal for the American West. And the governor, along with the Senate president and members of Utah's business community and others, are going to try and convince them tomorrow morning. During the event today, the governor reminded the room, which was also filled with Utah news media who followed them there. Not a bad gig, right? Part of your job. But again, there were some sports leaders as well. The governor reminded everyone, he said, this isn't the Utah Games. It's not the Salt Lake City Games. It's the USA Games. That we, 1% of the United States of America, 1% of the United States population, that's what Utah equals, we get to represent the entire United States to the world through this bidding process for the Olympics. And the governor admitted it made him nervous. He said the past head of the National Governors Association, working with him as they've promoted the Governor's Disagree Better initiative, said that hosting another Olympics in Utah would be an opportunity to promote unity, because the Olympics are literally about that. It allows us all to act together, even for a brief period of time, a few weeks, each summer and winter. And he said that's something he would love to have Utah be a part of again, especially considering where things are everywhere else in the world, the governor said today at the press conference in Paris. This is, I mean, it is a big deal. Fraser Bullock, the bid committee's president and CEO, the Deseret News reported today, noted that the U.S.-sponsored Marshall Plan, which helped to rehabilitate Europe after World War II, was also signed at the same hotel where this took place today, the Hotel de Talleyrand. And he said that was on his mind today. He said it's worth pointing that out. He said that's what our bid is about, trying to make, as they were then, the world a better place. I'm sure it's just fun and games, literally, in the case of the Olympics, right? And some pretty aggressive competition. But he said, this is a big deal. And the governor and representatives of the U.S. ambassador to France's office said, this is a time when maybe we need to really emphasize what the Olympics originally and always have been all about, which is reminding us that we're all residents of this one planet that we all need to survive and that we all need to learn to coexist on in order to survive. And maybe that's something we could all use a good dose of right now. Now, granted, that dose wouldn't come until 2034, but it's an opportunity to start talking about it. Now, the governor said, back here in Utah, Salt Lake City Mayor Erin Mendenhall talked a little bit in a press conference of her own today with an update on this trip they've made. She's not there herself. She said, or she is there herself. She said that she talked about what she called a great legacy that is still very evident here in Utah of the 2002 Winter Games, which left upgraded facilities like the Olympic Oval in Kearns and other things like that. That are still very popular recreational sites for Utahns today, more than 20 years later. And so she said that's a pretty big deal. Also, the first TRAX light rail lines were a result of Utah securing that 2002 Olympic game contract as well. So she said, kind of cracking a joke, she said it's a way that we found to get the legislature to actually invest in some things, implying the legislature is very cheap. And yes, they can be, unless it's for one of their friends. But in 2002, Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz, a Republican lawmaker from Hooper, Utah, said the state needed to host this big event because the economy was not so great. It was just okay. He said, here we are 22 years later, and Utah is in a position to do something to not just be scraping by trying to boost our own economy. We can actually kind of flex a little bit, is what he said, paraphrasing. He said, we can do, quote, something to bring people together with the next Olympics because Utah's economy has grown so much that it would allow them to focus on different things. So the Olympics, of course, were a huge catalyst for many growth-related things, but and they can also be a catalyst for challenges. We saw some of that as well. In France today, Senate President Stuart Adams said, I like the buildings, or I like to build things. We're builders. He's in finance for home building. He finances developers, basically. But he said, predicting there would be a record spending on infrastructure projects ahead of the 2034 games. That will help us get ahead. But the speaker also said for him, the best part of the story is not one dime of taxpayer money is going to be spent to host the Olympics. Now, that's kind of huge because the proposed budget, last I read, was about $3 billion to stage another games. Again, they've got a decade to do that, to get that together and get everything up and running. But still, $3 billion without a single taxpayer dollar, that's going to be a challenge. So we'll see if that promise holds up or not. But there's a lot of money in sale of sponsorships and broadcast rights and tickets, of course, and things like that, private donors and more. But $3 billion, I don't know. Skeptical of that claim, but don't want to rain on everybody's parade today. The U.S. ambassador to France told reporters this afternoon that turnout at the event shows a lot of energy behind the bid. He was surprised to see so many, for example, members of Utah's business community who kind of footed their own bill to be there for this press conference in France today. They weren't part of the delegation flying on the taxpayers' dime of elected officials. And he said that the U.S. ambassador said that really impressed him. So the U.S. has been the site of more Olympics than any other country. I didn't know this until a few years ago, but a total of 10 at this point, which that's counting the upcoming 2028 Summer Games. And they would bump it up to 11 if we got the 2034 Winter Games and Paralympic Games. So if the Olympic Committee, the IOC as it's known, votes to award Utah as the location state for the 2034 Winter Games, of course, it would be headquartered. The games would be headquartered in Salt Lake City again. That's why Salt Lake Mayor Erin Mendenhall was there in France with him today. And that announcement could come this week. They are going to vote tomorrow. They aren't held to announcing the vote publicly tomorrow, by the way. That was pointed out by the Salt Lake Tribune in their report, but they are going to vote tomorrow after this Utah delegation makes its presentation. And fingers crossed or not, depending on where you're at. I do know some people that don't want this to happen. The governor today, though, said one of the main reasons he wants to bring the Olympics back is to, quote, prove to the Olympic movement that you could do this, that you could keep venues for this long, and that you could keep them active and alive, and that you could do it in a sustainable, both financially and environmental way that is good for people, taxpayers, and the environment. And Utah has done that. These facilities that were built for the 2002 Olympics would maybe at most, in some cases, maybe need a paint job or some shining up of some banisters or things like that. The facilities themselves have been in operation since the Olympics happened and are still in operation today in Utah. So you literally just need to shut them down and change some signage, and you're ready to go. That's not something every host of the Olympics can say, Cox said this afternoon in France. Finally, he wrapped up. He said, we'd love to see the IOC decide on a kind of rotation where every 20 years or 16 years or something like that, the same venues get the Winter Games back. So we don't have to go through this lengthy and frankly expensive bidding process every time. I think Utah is well positioned to represent North America in the as a premier venue for any winter sporting event, let alone the Winter Games at large. So, and I think the governor's right about that. So, by the way, the presentation will be live streamed tomorrow. A couple different ways you can watch that. I know Deseret News is planning on live streaming it at Deseret.com, but the Olympic Committee itself, if you just do a simple search for the IOC or International Olympic Committee, you find their website, and there's a live stream link there as well. And that will be live streamed at tomorrow. It's called Celebrate 2034. And then there's a party being held in downtown Salt Lake's Washington Square to coincide with all of this as well. So the whole thing starts roughly tomorrow afternoon, and then the party tomorrow evening in downtown Salt Lake. And by that time, it's likely we'll know whether Utah will be hosting the Winter Games and Paralympic Games in 2034, second time around. Stick around. More of KVNU's For the People to come. First, though, a look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News is brought to you by Bell Medical. The visitor center on Antelope Island has been evacuated after a new wildfire start was reported at the popular Utah nature location. Utah Fire Info reported the wildfire started at 1:15 p.m. and has grown to between 50 and 100 acres with 0% containment. Crews have been using an aerial attack to battle the fire, dumping retardant on the flames. It's not known how many people were affected by the evacuations and whether any other areas were being evacuated, but the island is now closed to all visitors. The cause has yet to be determined. Antelope Island is currently under Stage 2 fire restrictions due to the hot and dry conditions that have made its vegetation extremely flammable. The fire was located at the northern end of the island where all the traffic flows in and out. While the visitor center was evacuated, the structure itself is not in any danger. Idaho State Police are investigating a fatal motorcycle crash that occurred on southbound I-15 near Spencer at 10:51 Monday morning. A Kawasaki motorcycle driven by a 69-year-old male from far west Utah was traveling southbound on I-15. He lost control of the motorcycle and crashed, blocking both southbound lanes of the interstate. His passenger, a 60-year-old female from far west, succumbed to her injuries at the time of the crash. The driver was transported by air ambulance to a local hospital. Both occupants were wearing helmets. The roadway was blocked for about 4 hours. The crash is still under investigation. KVNU weather brought to you by Canyon Landscaping, creating livable landscapes for your new or existing yard. Call Canyon Landscaping at 752-3838. Heat advisory in effect from noon to 10 p.m. Wednesday. Patchy smoke tonight, mostly clear, low in the mid-60s. Patchy smoke, sunny and hot, around 100 degrees on Wednesday. Slight chance of showers late Wednesday night, and then a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon on Thursday. High temperature around 95. Get more news at CashValleyDaily.com.
ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. The Secret Service has reportedly recommended Donald Trump's campaign stop holding outdoor rallies. Sources say the suggestion comes in the wake of the attempted assassination on the former president. There's no word yet from the campaign. An ABC News tally shows Vice President Harris now has the commitments from at least 2,000 Democratic delegates. That's enough to make her the party's presumptive presidential nominee. She held her first rally today in suburban Milwaukee.
The shoulders on which we stand. Generations of Americans before us led the fight for freedom. And now, Wisconsin, the baton is in our hands.
On Thursday, the vice president will deliver the keynote address at the American Federation of Teachers Convention in Houston. Longtime Trump ally Steve Bannon will stand trial beginning December 9th. This is ABC News.
Bell Medical is so excited to announce we won Best Estate. With so many awards and industry-leading board-certified plastic surgeons, you can be confident you're partnering with the best in weight loss and awake lipo. Right now until the end of the month, you can get a Bell Sculpt 360 procedure starting at just $42.50 or a mommy makeover at $52.50. Our best of sell ever. We're so confident in our results, we offer our Bell Guarantee, 2 to 5 inches of fat loss after just one treatment. Book your consultation today to lock in your savings at bellmedical.com.
Thank you for calling Cardall's Insulation. How can we make your home more comfortable today?
Is your home hot? Does your air conditioner run nonstop? Are you spending a fortune on energy? Call Cardall's Insulation, 755-5012. From attics and walls, garages and basements, new homes and commercial construction, Cardall's is the name thousands of homeowners, builders, and remodelers trust. Stay cool all summer and save money on your utility bills. In fact, you may qualify for a tax credit up to $1,200. Cardall's Insulation, 755-5012.
IPACO is celebrating a milestone this year, 50 years of serving our community. They want to thank you for trusting them with your metal fabrication, machining, and welding. When you need hardware, bearings, sheaves, and belts, you turn to IPACO. And for generations, you've relied on IPACO for outdoor power equipment. On behalf of the Anderson family and the entire team at IPACO, thank you for letting us serve you. Here's to 50 more years of serving you with the same dedication and excellence. IPACO on 10th West in Logan.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello. Mark Gilbert. My name is Will Feelright. I'm calling from KVNU in Logan. Hey, I'm calling to see if you want to go to lunch today.
Well, I'm not going to be able to today.
How long have you been an EMT?
Get close to 40 years.
Well, Mark, Firehouse Subs has teamed up with our radio station, and every week they like to give a gift card to somebody for free lunch or dinner, and we'd like to give that gift card to you.
Well, thank you.
The Above and Beyond Salute on News Talk KVNU.
That's the audio from a video that made the rounds earlier today with national park workers shouting at tourists, run, 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 as a hydrothermal explosion took place in Yellowstone National Park. The video shows a pretty massive explosion of steam and scalding hot water in probably 2 feet from one of the wooden boardwalks that go through some of those heavy, thick geyser basins in Yellowstone National Park. This particular explosion was at Biscuit Basin in Yellowstone National Park. If you've been there, you know where it's at. The USGS, United States Geological Survey, confirmed this hydrothermal explosion occurred, which they described as small in contrast with some of the others that have happened in recent years. But it was significant in the video, and it did put lives at risk. This is steam that will actually burn your lungs from the inside should you inhale it. And again, scalding hot water. It's a creepy thing to see on the video, though. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. But as people are walking on this boardwalk, you can see they're walking over. If you've been to Yellowstone, you know what I'm talking about, and you know what it smells like as well. But you're walking over these these pools that are maybe 2-3 inches deep of water. They're broad, and then somewhere out there you see the hole, the creepy, maybe bottomless hole that leads who knows where, that all that water is bubbling up from. And so you see in the video as they're walking along, all of a sudden the water starts to rise very rapidly, like someone's just turned on a huge tap to fill a bathtub, but it's really fast. Because it's coming up through those vent holes, but all of them at once in this basin. And it is one of the creepiest. I know this happens. I visited Yellowstone last time I was there. It was just after something like this had happened. There was one in 2009 that was actually larger than this. It's not infrequent. And it doesn't mean a volcanic eruption, like the catastrophic one that the doomsdayers say and scientists say is pending in Yellowstone, and I'm sure they're right. I just don't like to think about it. This was just a geothermal explosion, basically the whole system letting off steam. But it was huge for the people there because it shot about 200 feet in the air. And again, this is scalding hot water and deadly superheated steam, and it starts, though, with this water rising. Watch the video. I've linked to it on our Facebook page, or you can simply Google it. It's easy to find out there. But geothermal explosion, or hydrothermal, rather, explosion in the Yellowstone National Park today, Biscuit Basin area. And again, just watching that water rise as they're walking, you hear the national park worker who's doing kind of a loose tour. She's sort of talking and walking backwards in front of this large group on the boardwalk there. And you hear her notice the water rising. She pauses a bit as she's talking just before we jumped in there in the audio you heard there coming back from the break. She pauses a little bit. You can tell it's taken her back. She's noticed that the water's coming up very quickly along that boardwalk. In fact, within a couple of seconds, it's gone from 2 inches of water that's a good foot below the boardwalk to very hot water that is about to spill over the boardwalk onto everyone's shoes and sandals. And that's when she starts yelling at everyone, "Run, run, run!" And then and she's running backwards as fast as she can, holding a camera at the same time. And she's shouting at everyone, "Run, run, run, hurry, 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 run, run, run," in a calm voice. And they're running because at this point, they can actually see and hear what's behind them, which is this bubbling and spurting that's happening. And then before the last, say, 10 people are completely off the boardwalk, they're still very close to this thing. Just kaboom, this thing goes. And yeah. Amazing. The Biscuit Basin, by the way, is about 2.5 miles northwest of Old Faithful. And this release, the press release from the Yellowstone National Park officials this afternoon said that the explosion appears to have originated directly near Black Diamond Pool. But geologists are still investigating that. It's an intricate network down there, way, way, way underground. So where the pressure actually came from can be difficult to really determine right out of the gate. But they need to do that because it can tell them where the pressure is the greatest, where weakness. Because now, since this event happened, whatever system this is connected to is now the least pressurized for the time being. It just vented, right? That means that, some sort of catastrophe is likely not going to happen here. They can kind of bump this one back down the ladder of concern and focus somewhere else. But they need to know where the pressure originated from, and they can do that with complex radar and sonar systems that they use. They even use these dive monitoring mini subs, like remote control subs that are about the size of a remote control car, and very cool stuff, very cool technology. But several social media videos made the rounds before any official word had come out on this, and in the video, it looks a lot worse than it is. Because of the angle of the sun, it doesn't look like just a steam vent and hot water. But it is, and it's significantly high in the air. So, of course, as this made the rounds online, people were sort of panicked. Is this the big one that we've always heard about? That massive eruption that's going to just engulf Yellowstone and most of the American West at the same time in volcanic ash? No, this was, though very large in the video and obviously very large and concerning to the people who were there in person. It was actually what geologists say was a very small vent in the grand scheme of things. Doesn't look very small in the video as I'm watching it loop here. But yeah, and some very frightened people. Also, if you've ever seen one of these things go, I've never seen it in person. I've seen a lot of video, but they have a tendency to kind of mushroom cloud because of, the way the vent happens, and then, the steam rising faster than some of the actual still, vaporized steam being vaporized water. There's actually some unvaporized water still up there, like rain almost, and it causes this weird kind of mushroom cloudy kind of thing for a few seconds. You can tell everyone on hand is just weirded out by this whole experience, starting with the water very rapidly rising on the side of the boardwalk and then starting to spill over. And then the national park leaders just shouting, run, 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 or national park guides shouting, run, 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 run. Yeah, can't imagine. But joint press release today from the USGS and Yellowstone National Park included this information, just so everyone doesn't panic and cancel their planned trips. Hydrothermal explosions occur when water suddenly flashes to steam underground, and they are relatively common in Yellowstone. For example, Pork Chop Geyser in Norris Geyser Basin experienced a significant explosion in 1989, and then a much smaller event in the Norris Geyser Basin was recorded by monitoring equipment on April 15th, 2024, so just earlier this year. And an explosion similar in size and power to the one today occurred in this same basin, May 17th, 2009. So again, not exactly every day, but not at all uncommon. And Yellowstone Park officials and USGS scientists said absolutely no cause for concern on this, despite the fact that it was especially for those right there, huge explosion of steam and superheated water. It was small in contrast to the other things that happen on a regular basis in the park. This one just happened to happen in front of witnesses and people with cell phone cameras. Park officials said usually these things happen way out in the middle of nowhere, and we hear them and quote unquote see them on specialized equipment because it's an area where few, if any, people have ever been within the park. But again, not uncommon, no reason for concern. There was actually some concern this morning with the size of this eruption. And again, most of that is attributed to the angle of the sun and the angle of the video, the camera taking the video, and that voice of the park ranger screaming, run, 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 to get people off that boardwalk before they're scalded. The combination of the three made this look a lot worse than it really was. And of course, at first, because of the angle of the sun, it almost looks like there is actually volcanic activity in this explosion. With that in mind, they did actually have a run on inquiries about cancellations at hotels and even restaurant reservations for tourists planning to come to Yellowstone from overseas. Saying, obviously, if you're paying for a flight from overseas, you're paying a lot for that, and the sooner you cancel, the less you're going to lose. So people calling even the park visitor center saying, hey, if we need to cancel, we'd rather know now rather than later. And being reassured by park officials and, again, the USGS this afternoon, no, this is actually a pretty regular occurrence. We just don't often see it this up close. And you should go see it. If you haven't seen the video, again, I've linked to it on our Facebook page. It would make the hair on the back of your neck stand up if you were there in person, even if you know that this thing happens and have visited Yellowstone often. Pretty creepy thing to see, especially how fast the whole thing happens. And also a good reminder to not step off those boardwalks when you're in Yellowstone. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your loved ones, you deserve the best. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance, an Alera Group company. We believe that obtaining life insurance should be affordable and worry-free. As an independent auto owners insurance agency, we work with top-notch carriers to find the best policy for your unique needs. You can rest assured that you're getting the best coverage and the best price. Quality First Insurance, 435-752-0101.
As you get older, it's more important than ever to eat healthy. But that can be hard for those of us who are retired and living on a fixed income, especially during COVID-19. A friend told me about benefitscheckup.org. It's a free website from the National Council on Aging, and it's helped millions of older Americans pay for healthy food. Maybe it can help you. Benefitscheckup.org. You've earned this. This message is supported by the Administration for Community Living.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Now is the time to get your vehicle's transmission ready for those hot summer months, and AMCO can help. AMCO Transmissions is located at 75 East, 2000 North. They are the business you can trust. Their Safeguard transmission service is the industry standard. Kurt Zollinger and his team will replace your vehicle's transmission fluids, do an inspection, and test drive to give you peace of mind when you're on vacation. AMCO Transmission in Logan. Online at amcoutah.com. See store for details.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Great question from a listener here. And I actually had to look this up because I didn't remember the exact full list. But listener wanted to know who is competing for the 2034 Winter Olympics. So Utah, as I mentioned, Utah delegation, Governor Cox, Senate President Stuart Adams, members of Utah's business community, some folks who actually paid to fly themselves there to be a part of this. All there prepping for a presentation will be made to the IOC tomorrow in Paris, France, to try and convince them to let Utah give it a second run. The 2002 Winter Games were successful. That was part of the play. That's expected to be part of the presentation tomorrow, actually. Governor Cox hinted at that today in a press conference from Paris, that, you know, the facilities built for 2002 are still in great shape. They've been maintained well. They're in use every day here in Utah, and they don't need to be rebuilt. Maybe polished up a bit. Maybe you got to, buff a banister here and there or something, a paint job on a certain wall. But otherwise, they're ready to go for 2034 and will be even 10 years from now when those games come. So that's part of the pitch. I'm sure there's a lot more to it. I hope there's a lot more to it. But a listener wanted to know who else is competing, and that's a great question. I don't think we've ever really talked about this. So in June, the IOC leaders advanced a whittled down list of. So the way this worked in 2002 was a bit different. We should point that out too. So if you remember that was a little bit different, and it was a little expensive for taxpayers too. About $60 million building venues to prep for that. That's, as the governor said, something we won't have to do in 2034. And then again tomorrow, the official presentation will be made, and then the committee will actually vote. I'm not sure whether we know that when that vote will be released. I couldn't find that, whether they actually vote and announce it right then, or if it's a secret ballot and then vote. There's a different presentation or ceremony for the announcement. I don't know, but. The competing cities, for those who want to know, and one other thing there's some confusion on this too. Although the games will take place in Salt Lake, and they may even be referred to as the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics, on some IOC messaging. The state is actually mounting the bid, not Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City has to be a big part of this because it's going to take place in Salt Lake City. So they can't, they have to be a part of the conversation and the planning process and even the bidding process. But the state actually has to do it because of the planning and money that's involved. So the number of number of competing cities, by the way, it started out about, keep in mind for the Winter Games, not everyone can host the Winter Games. But the number of competing cities was whittled down worldwide from 40 to about, let me make sure here, 6 in June. And that announcement was made. And then the final bids for the future hosts, it comes down to Romania, Sweden, Austria, Afghanistan, actually, a part of this. That surprised me, actually, for Winter Olympics. But then I got thinking about it, and I'm like, all right, oh, yeah, they could actually pull that off. And they are competing in this presentation all together tomorrow. So it's an international effort that will take place Munich, Germany, and Carinthia, Austria, Venetia, Italy, Slovenia, and I'm missing one more here in the bid, but it gives you a rough idea. No other city in the United States is competing for the Olympic, or no other state, rather, in the United States is competing for the Winter Olympics. We're not competing with each other on this one, from a United States perspective. Also, Governor Cox has talked about this before. Though it is a competition, and though there's a lot on the line, there's so many opportunities that come around here and there for most states and countries to host the Olympics. Governor Cox said it's good nature. No one hates anyone else if they aren't awarded the bid by the committee. But again, we might know by tomorrow afternoon. We might not. There's a chance, at least, we'll know by tomorrow afternoon whether Utah will be hosting the Winter Olympics again in 2034. So we'll, of course, be talking about that on the show, should that happen. Be sure to be with us. That and more tomorrow on the program, including Speaker Mike Schultz calling for a couple of high-level law enforcement officials' resignation. Why and whether it's going to happen. That's tomorrow.